Hey guys, it's time for Gary's Good News Only. Sorry about the appearance of the video today. We're having a partners meeting at Rex's church here, and anyway, I stepped outside so I could do this real quick, so if you'll pardon the way these videos look this week. First thing we'll talk about on the Gary's Good News Only episode today is what's going on in the construction sector. National Association of Realtors announced that 51,000 new net jobs were created in December in the construction sector, and their job openings in the sector obviously are remaining very elevated. And that means what we all know is that housing new starts are really expanding and growing. United Van Lines announced, and this is huge news for South Carolina, that South Carolina is the number 2 state in the country where people are migrating from. They're migrating out of the west, they're migrating out of the northeast, and they are moving to South Carolina. We know that to be a fact. I'm doing closings for people all over the country. They're citing their lockdowns and they're citing their jobs and things of that nature as reason they're moving to South Carolina. So that's something we all need to think about in the market. It's how do we try to hit those out-of-state people that are moving into our market. So that is certainly great news for us in real estate. The next thing to talk about is while job growth was not good overall in December, there was some very good parts. Professional and business services were up 160,000 jobs in December. Retail trade was up 120. Construction, as I said, was up 51,000. Transportation and warehousing was up 46,000, and manufacturing was up 38,000. Those are the level jobs that people typically buy houses, so that's good. A lot of the poor job reports were a direct result of these governors with the lockdown. So if we get the lockdowns over with, which don't tend to stop the spread of the virus as we've seen, then we can get everybody back to work and we can get the economy rolling. Housing permits also were the best level since September 2006. South had 870,000 building permits per year, which was the strongest area of the country. Now, in COVID, what we found was that Florida researchers confirmed, this is the University of Florida, that reinfection rates for symptomatic people were only 18% and asymptomatic was 0.7, which is basically statistically zero. So if you are asymptomatic, you have very little chance of spreading it to somebody else, and if you're symptomatic, it's only 18%. There was a study by Alex Berenson, who discussed hospitalizations and how they keep claiming in the media that the hospitals are collapsing. He used Arizona as his example because that's one of the most hard-hit areas in the country for COVID. It's on September 30th, there were 7,999 beds being used in ICU, of which 620 were for COVID patients. Now it's at 40,920 COVID patients, which is outrageous, but the beds are still at only 8,004. So the number of patients are simply being replaced by COVID patients, which brings me to the next point, which was the Department of Health admitted this week in Colorado that they have no idea what it means when a hospital reports that a patient is currently hospitalized with COVID-19. They have no idea how they're determining that, what those even mean. So basically what we've been saying is you could be in there to have your knee replaced and you test positive for COVID, and now you're considered hospitalized with COVID. That's not why you're there. You're not there for COVID, and these numbers are inflating these numbers, which has been my whole point all along, is there's no truth at all in any of these numbers. We know that the death numbers are nowhere close to being accurate. We had a state last week had to remove 400 deaths because they were from suicides and drug overdoses, but they had tested positive when they did their drug test on the person who had passed, and they called those COVID deaths. We know that's not right. And lastly, Health and Human Services on their daily report assessment said in their 7-day post-exposure testing of asymptomatic people that they determined that they negative test from day 7. After that, if you've tested positive up to day 7, that none that they retested positive, none of them ever tested positive again between days 8 and 14. So what that means is that day 7, if you're negative, then you're pretty much going to be negative through day 14. So quarantines should be reduced to 7 days is what they're saying. Hope you enjoyed the legal tip today, or the Gary's Good News Only today, and hope y'all have a great weekend.